This is good to watch back in real time. So far, we've watched 20 nades of mine, and maybe
Hmm.
two or three were
Two or three
valuable.
have been useful. Yep.
It's like,
Yep. I'd say you're at about like a 5 to 10% efficiency on your nades right now, which is rough. Very rough.
that's pretty bad. Recording. Okay, so what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unranked to Awkward Analyzed. This time we got Maeve back. She was our very first coach that we brought on, and she did a really good job of explaining a lot of fundamental concepts in the first episode, and so happy to bring her back. Welcome back, Maeve.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to iterate on our next coaching session.
Okay, so
All
this
right.
map, you saw the loss obviously in the last episode, so hoping you can kind of walk through what I could have done better here.
Great. Okay. So we're going to start from first fight. I think mostly what I want to keep track of in this HOG versus Ana matchup is who's timing their abilities correctly. So HOG is going to get a lot of ult charge, is going to get a lot of value about poking and then using his breather just to sustain himself, to keep up his neutral pressure, constantly fishing for hooks. We're trying to make sure we're timing either our sleep or our nade with the HOG heal just to get maximum value. Meanwhile, shooting the other people and threats that could be on off angles. So we're using our neutral pressure, our primary fire, as Jafes talked about, to deny the people that are going to try and take an angle and try and get a crossfire, and essentially ignoring HOG until he oversteps, until he uses his breather at the wrong time. Then we punish that with nade, and we finish out the fight. Mostly, we're trying to make sure that our team is taking as little damage as possible from these guys, and also by extension Kiriko, because she will also be taking an off angle for the most part. And by doing that, it allows us to not have to support our team when HOG is going for breather. And we'll have that window of time, that opportunity, because we put out enough pressure on these guys, the actual real threats to our team.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mainly the way I'm thinking about it. In terms of range here, really we need to be staying out of hog hook range. Kiriko is mostly only going to be a threat if she gets close range. So if she's able to flank around the side of the map, if that lane is left unchecked, we should make sure that we're checking that. Cass and Bastion have basically infinite range as far as we're concerned for this point, so we just need a line to sight them if we don't want to take damage, and Moira is pretty close range. So really our major threats are ensuring that Kiri is not on a flank, and making sure we're not in hog hook range. And I'll be watching over the top, drawing little bubbles to make sure we're not in those at any point. As long as those conditions are satisfied, we're damaging the DPS and support that might take an off angle and being ready to punish Hog's breather. We should be winning this.
Gotcha.
Okay. We're all right side. A little bit of mistake just because this angle is not the best sightline for us, since it's obviously we'd like to play something longer range, and also this is generally where flankers go. If I was Moira or I was Kiriko, really I'd just be poking from here, scouting, and then going on a flank, and that would really expose you if you went to the right side. So obviously you switch it up, but that's the reason why we choose to stay left side. If I was one of your teammates here, I'd say definitely I'd want like Alari over here. We need to be establishing a crossfire because his hog right now is getting breather for free, so he should be shot at. He shouldn't be able to stay behind this. Also, just being a check on this side of the map in case they have
for flanks.
Yeah, for flankers. That's really, really going to be the main way to win it macro wise. Aside from just hog hitting a crazy hook or them hitting more shots, fights are closed out and solely decided by angles. Whatever team has the better angles, has the better crossfire, has the better map control, should win it.
Gotcha.
So right now, both teams kind of at like a moot point, right? Their team, if we look at their spectate overlay, is basically completely like, as far Moira is not a threat at this range to anyone.
Yeah.
So as far as we're concerned, all their damage is coming from this way, all their pressure is coming from this way, and all of ours is this way. It's kind of, we're just ramming heads into each other.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to personally make a difference in this regard. Like, I don't really think it's the best use of our time for you to say, hey, you know what, no one's on this angle, I'll take it, because it's not super effective for you and it's a little risky.
Yeah.
But in the instance that you're playing the Alari, say someone picks Ana or you want to play it on this map, that's the kind of mentality I'd be thinking of. And that's also important because that's the mentality they should have. in order for them to win this, they're trying to get this flank, like we mentioned, and you need to be aware that that is their quote unquote win con.
Mm.
And you need to make sure you're saving sleep, checking to make sure nobody's flanking, getting shots in on flankers like that.
Okay.
So we'll keep watching. We'll watch from your perspective. Hog just used breather. So at this point, I say we could maybe even, the moment Hog uses hook, he's not really a threat anymore, right? So if we look at his
Yeah.
threat range, the moment he uses hook, his threat range goes from like here to like here,
Yeah.
right? Meaning we can push up a little bit. And why is this advantageous? Because we can start to get an angle around, let me do this in a different color. We can start to get an angle around these guys. We
Yeah.
don't have to be on a hard flank like our Junkrat to get better map control than them. The small things count. So even just being here would allow you to land, say, an anti-nade back here, get shots in on their DPS and their squishies. Because as of right now, we really just have not been able to put out the pressure we want on their backliners, on their Cass, on their Kiriko. So Hog just used breather. We're not looking to punish at this point. We're not looking to punish breather with anti-nade anymore because we don't. That's already out. That's a ship has already sailed. So now at this point, we're just looking for antis onto backline, and that's why I don't like this that much. I would have preferred we went wide and we tried to anti the Cass here. Because Hog, A, has a large health pool, B, doesn't have breather, so we're not really getting the most value out of our cooldown we could. You know, we're not denying it. It's just extra damage at that point. And that extra damage isn't going to make up a kill for us because Hog is by cover. But because Hog is so low, he does have to respect the fact we're here. So you can swing wide, you can look at Cass. Anti here would really help. You get really good shots in. And he's dead.
Yeah, I just completely booked it.
Yeah.
Because we got
That's
the cast
fair.
skill. I probably could have used it on cast there for sure.
Okay. So let's look at your cooldowns at this point. We have anti-nade. We can either try to deny Hog heal, but let me check back. I think he just used it. Okay, ready? He used heal. We can hear it through the wall here. You can't hear audio, obviously, because I'm streaming my screen, but
Yeah.
in game we'd be able to hear. At this point, we're not looking to punish Hog with anti-nade. It's not effective to use anti-nade on Hog because he doesn't need to be bursted. Like he really can't be, even with anti-nade. Given that we really only have 2 teammates, that damage is way more effective on somebody whose HP is lower max HP, because it chunks more of a percentage of theirs. If you anti-nade Mora, she's on 2/3 HP versus anti-nading Hog, he's like 5/6 HP. So
we
generally,
have
yeah, we have nade. At this point, our target prayer is really important. Okay, nice, good nade on that. All right, at this point, Hog is about to get hook, meaning our teammates are somewhere in the threat range. We could be looking to deny hook with sleep since it's about to be out. So I wouldn't throw sleep willy-nilly here. Okay, he's breather, so we need to punish elsewhere. This is where sleep would come really in handy. We do have it at this point, and like I said, he's playing around his cooldown cycles. He uses breather. We don't punish with the anti-nade, so he's just waiting. He's waiting for a hook. He has it up. He goes in. He hooks someone. He ults, and we're still looking at their supports. And we do get a pick, but the thing is, we can really weave that damage a lot more, and weave our cooldowns. We can shoot the Kiriko twice. She's effectively forced out of the fight because if she peeks again, she's at risk of dying.
Yeah.
And then turn our attention to Hog. There's something I like to say where being below a certain threshold of HP makes you effectively dead. If you shoot a tracer who doesn't have blinks and doesn't have recall and isn't near a health pack once on Ana, she is so close to dead, she could be breathed on. The wind could blow and she would die. And because that tracer player knows that, they're not going to go for anything until their cooldowns are back up. Meaning they're basically useless for a time period. Maybe it's less of a time period than if they were truly well dead, right? Like if they went back to spawn, sure, it would take them longer, but it's not worth our time to chase down these kills And I think this is a very, very crucial instance in which we got 1 or 2 shots in the Kiriko. She uses cleanse. She is effectively dead. For all we're concerned, we don't need her to die fully because she's not going to peek us to throw kunai. She's not going to Suzu Hog because she doesn't have it. She's not going to TP into Hog because that's a death sentence. She's not going to heal Hog because she can't see him.
Yeah, that's an important point, and I kind of want to make sure the viewers in the audience hear that, because GFest said something similar about, you know, dismantling pressure from their side, and like there was another part where I was focused on the support, which everyone says focus supports, focus supports, focus supports, but I wasn't kind of trying to neutralize the main point of pressure, which was the tank, and I make that same mistake here, it looks like.
Right. Now, I will say this is a very tricky example. It was a very short window and kind of mechanical play you'd have to make happen in order to sleep this hog. I'm not saying it's easy, but technically, if we can think of anything we can do to improve, there was definitely a little bit of priority that was lost focusing really hard on this Kiriko.
Yeah.
A perfect game of Overwatch can be played without anyone getting any kills, theoretically, and someone can come out on top and it's never going to happen. It doesn't happen in pro games. No one's good enough for it. But if we look at the game purely theoretically, whatever team is best able to put out pressure should win. And the team that responds to the pressure well, they're still losing. If they're taking more pressure than they're putting out, they're still going to lose. They have to give up positions. They have to trade cooldowns. They have to give up map control, stuff like that. They have to give up the objective. They may not die, but they're still losing. So you're of the mentality, I think, right now that I must kill that Kiriko so we can start winning. But you're already winning, and you're losing your lead. Actually, you're letting it slip by focusing too hard on that.
Yeah, because he got 2, and I used it on a useless kind of target.
He got 3. So far, this hog has used 4 breathers, I believe, and we have naded 0 of them. Some of them we weren't in the position to nade, so I don't necessarily blame you. But statistically, at least, Hog has gotten away with a few more breathers than I'd like.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward. We'll see when you respawn again.
I mean, he technically got 4 kills, right? Because he got 3 with the ultimate and then me.
Yep, technically 4 by the end of the fight. So he essentially team wiped.
Yeah.
And that's because he got to play really, really freely around his cooldown cycles.
Yeah.
While there was a gap in time between his hook and breather coming up, he was never seriously in danger. And a lot of that was partly due to the fact that the fight got scrappy and people were dead. And, it's not necessarily like everyone played terribly in that instance, but he was given a really, really great opportunity to carry there.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go back a little bit.
Then we get stuck
So
here.
your team, staggering themselves. You weren't quite there yet. They just used their Suzu. And we didn't have nade. So we got to look back and see where nade was used. I think nade just got used here.
I think I was trying to hit the diva and I didn't even get close.
Yep, and then we don't have nade here, which is an instance that maybe we can kill him, or at least if we had nade, he would not really feel quite as free to walk up here. Again, devolved fight, not necessarily the most we can do.
Yeah.
But so far 0 for 5 in terms of being able to deny the hog.
Oof. It's just kind of wasted time. I think here, I know I'm like trying to open up an angle maybe.
Yep.
Because I'm like, we're just going to get stuck here all game.
I don't hate this. Now, I will say you have to be very, very late to this, and this puts a little trust in your team, but I wouldn't say this is a bad play necessarily going for a flank. You can't go first because until their cooldowns are out, you're going to be within their threat range with no response. Hog Hook will reach you from anywhere here. You're within Kiri's range, essentially, right? Like, she can dome you. You are putting yourself in a lot of danger, but it is kind of a high-risk, high-reward play. We're going to mitigate some of that risk by going later than the rest of our team. And we can use our nano to kind of bail ourselves out for not being there the entire time, keep our teammates full health and topped off. Really, what's crucial here is making sure we get nade on the right targets when it's not cleansable and they're not at a position where they can run backwards.
Yeah.
So she goes first. A little risky. The moment you jumped into this window, the hog hooked. And if the Sombra dodged it, there's a small chance that might have hit you. Or, like, we didn't really give a lot of thought to the hog hook here, I think.
Mm.
And that was a bit of an issue, but it ended up not proving to be, relevant. So we have nade. I would have liked, let me see. Let me look back. The Isuzu. Was there an opportunity to Nano Diva there? Let's check this. Maybe. Would have been tight. It's a good nade.
Yeah, I don't know how much value I'm getting out of just shooting him there, though.
The thing is, the reason why you're struggling to really, really find anything here, even though you started on an off angle, is because the map you're no longer on an off angle.
Yeah.
You are now directly here, and their team is here. So once again, we're in a scenario where they're shooting forward, we're shooting forward, nothing's happening. They're winning because they have map control and they're playing their mechanics better generally.
Mhm.
They do kind of have a slight off angle with Bastion, but
Yeah.
that's not our biggest concern. Really, when we go for plays like this with off angles and Ana, we have a very brief window that we throw our nade and then we try and get somewhere else. We don't want to stay on the same angle because naturally they're going to tend to line of sight us like what they're doing now. Because that's just what people do to snipers. They stay outside of the line of sight. And you have to keep shifting that. On Widow, the number one tip, and like the most crucial thing for Widow gameplay is just to keep moving. If you're here and you shoot once or twice, you move across the map. You stay unpredictable. Shoot, move, shoot, move, shoot, move. On support, it might be a little more tricky because we have the responsibility of keeping our teammates topped off a lot of the time. So sometimes you're tethered to your teammates, right? You can't move around and get all these little cheeky flanks and off angles that we might like, but there are windows, and especially since the moment our diva goes down or we start losing the fight,
Yeah.
we're not really tied to anyone anymore. At this point, it's on us to either save the fight or just back out.
Yeah.
They overuse ultis like crazy there.
Yeah, they used everything. So now my team's like forcing this angle.
And this might be an instance where we decide to play it a little slowly, wait for them to take some damage, keep looking at their health bars through the wall, right? Check how low they are, and then peek, throw a nade, get some shots in, maybe nano the diva from here, and then back up if they try and go for a hook. It's going to be tricky to crack. They do a really good job at stuffing this choke here. Yeah, and our anti-nade gets blocked, so that's pretty unfortunate. I will say, though, it's early regardless. Even if it hits, why is this not a great anti-nade?
Because they can just back up and not take any damage.
Right, they back up. They're more a fade. They use, they don't need to use hog breather, right? They Suzu it. They do anything. I think actually they just use Suzu. It's not the best example, but it's not late enough in the fight to have a serious impact.
Yeah, I think in my head, in that moment, I'm thinking about Nano because I'm like, damn it, I haven't used Nano in like forever, and I'm just wasting so I just need to use it. And more related to the nade, I think I'm thinking, oh, sometimes if people just get hit with the nade, they'll back up and maybe it'll give us an opening. But it's again like a low value.
Right. I would say they're on our team, there are better cooldowns and better resources we could be trading to get some space back than nade or sleep.
Yeah.
Because really those are going to be your kill shot abilities for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would use them that early. We do get a really great sleep here. So this is what I was talking about changing target focus. Look at this cast right here. Or look at this Kiriko. She is 1 HP. She's about to get forced out. See how she has to back in here? Because she's low HP. She can't stand out in the middle of point. So we switch our target focus to Hog and we sleep him and help deny that ulti that was really messing up our diva. And that is great because Kiri is, like we said, effectively dead. She got a little healing in on Hog, but that's not the most important thing. The important thing is that we make sure our diva really doesn't die here.
Yeah.
So that was a great sleep. Let me look at Hog cooldowns because now that we've paused, he goes, he takes a breather right here, and then you nade after. So since Hog just used breather, and we can kind of tell because he has the the like overheal health bar, right? He has that little yellow thing around it.
Mm-hmm.
I would be saving nade here. I wouldn't throw it into the choke immediately. I'd wait till they have to walk out a little more. Because while it is an overtime scenario and they do want to touch to make sure we don't cap, they can really wait us out. If they wait out the nade, our diva definitely can't push that. Our Sombra can't push that. Nobody can get in there realistically. Yeah. And if they play it correctly, they can really waste your nade and come back out with a vengeance. A nade would be crazy here.
Yeah.
He has nowhere to kite. He gets stuck. He'll probably die anyways. But yeah, that's a good nade. Finishing off the kill. Okay. Don't know what blood is doing. Okay, that's good. All right, what do we need there?
I don't know that I have a good reason.
Yeah.
I know they're pushing out of the door, like the Hog is at least. I saw him pushing out, and it's like a.
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely have a reason because Overwatch has unfortunately trained a lot of players to seek. I just watched a Spylo video and I liked how he said the ticky tickies. When you do damage, you know how you get that really satisfying feedback loop, right? We just want it immediately. We want it now. We see enemies, we nade them, right? It feels good. It feels good to nade people, but it's not necessarily the right play. And the game isn't necessarily rewarding you for making the correct plays. That is obviously not a nade spot because A, cover, B, they have their cooldowns up, and C, even if they had like cover from you, say you could land a nade on them, but you can't get full up shots, we don't have a crossfire anywhere. It'd be okay to nade this if they didn't have cooldowns from this position, given that we have a Sombra or an Alari or someone here, because then they have nowhere to hide. If they try and hide from Ana, they're exposed to one side. If they try and hide from the other side, they're exposed to you, right? But given that we don't have a crossfire, they still have cooldowns and they still have cover, is not a good nade.
I'd probably do it again if I'm being honest.
It's very likely. I would suggest moving left here. Just keep moving here just so we can stay in line instead of our teammates. Excuse me. They're gonna close out the fight here, but it's still important that we get them some help. Because we know Hog isn't gonna be back, we can get away with this. Unfortunately, our team is a little trolling right now. I don't hate that nade there, because it buys our team some time to back up. Like we said, they can wait out the nade, but sometimes that's good for us. Sometimes we can trade that nade just for some time because we really are just praying and hoping our diva gets back in time, and we're really not going to be able to close out any kills here or get a kill shot with that nade. So I'm okay with that. That may not have satisfied the conditions previously stated for our kind of purpose of nade, where we're trying to close out a fight, we're trying to get massive value with it.
Right.
This is a different kind of nade, and in this instance, I think it's fine. I don't even know if it hits, but I agree with the philosophy of it, so that's really all that matters.
Yeah, now it's just like backing up.
Yep. All right, why did we sleep there?
Cool down on use it like cooldown.
Ticky tickies. Yep, the ticky
Yeah.
tickies got to you. Um, you definitely want to be saving that sleep there because A, cover, B, they don't have a crossfire. C, you're going to be wanting to use it to deny more important cooldowns like hog, hog breather, hog hook, really anything, or a flanker. We don't know where Tracer is at this point.
Yeah,
And then she
true.
shows up. And then Moira shows up. It might be a long shot, but throwing sleep here is way, way better. I'd much rather you throw sleep here and miss than throw sleep here and hit.
Yeah.
Okay. Still no heal denied. And then we don't have sleep or anti-need for this hog ulti. Now let's look at our target pro here. This is what's going to be important. We should be shooting. Okay, Kiri's out of recover. We're looking at Moira. Nice. Finishing off that fight. Good. That's how we deny cooldowns. He's going to look for breather, so we're going to anti-knit. Nice. There you go. All right, we got our first breather deny. Let's go.
We got one.
Yep, we got one.
That was the important one, I think. It's right at the end.
Yep. Okay, so this map is interesting for Ana because there's a couple ways you can play it. Do you actually stay Ana here?
I think I do in the first like 80% of the game, and I had no idea where to play or how to play.
Okay, great. This is what we're about to talk about. So this map has two main positions with two main advantages. Playing from elephant statue as Ana on low ground is pretty effective because you have a long sight line into spawn. You can stuff these chokes well, and you have a decent view of point. You have mega if you need it. You do have a decent amount of cover. It's just a really powerful position. It's a little bit higher risk, high reward because you are out in the open. But given that your team has map control, it's pretty hard to get an Ana out of this position because they have to get through so many other people first. The D.Va stuffing a choke, Junkrat on a high ground spamming, like the Ana is their last priority, right?
Yeah.
When teams don't have vertical mobility and they're only really threatening on a horizontal plane, like from, here to here, if they really can only move horizontally, but say couldn't get on top of these pillars or these high grounds, we'd want to be playing on this high ground. Reason being, this has worse sightlines, definitely, but it's way safer. You're uncontestable, and it makes you just a really, really brutal threat if they can't run on you. Their team in its current state has a little bit of vertical mobility. They have Sojourn, but she's unlikely to solo slide up and contest you. Kiriko is a real threat. Moira maybe, but Tracer and Hog not so much. There are some spots Tracer can actually do some blinks to get up here, like she can blink onto this and then walk up, but it's not entirely likely. So usually when I'm playing Ana here, I'm just deciding, do I want to go elephant, meaning they have some amount of threatening vertical mobility, preventing me from taking the safer yet slightly less rewarding position, or should I play from here because even if I was in this position, I'd be pretty threatened anyways, and I would just be doing less because I have worse sightlines. So I think the answer here is probably elephant, but it's important to keep that in mind. If they were running something really, really flat, like Bastion, Orisa, like Moira, that kind of stuff, right? Then I would definitely consider going top right.
When you on this opening entry though, because you said elephant's good provided map control, and if we don't have it yet, like it's when I'm walking through main, what's the best way for me to get angles to push them back enough to get to elephant,
Right. So there's a couple ways we can start to try and take the map control. First, mostly we're just going to be looking for denying off angles from them. We can play this safer position that has the same lane of the map of elephant, right? We're contesting this side of the map, but we're not here, right? We don't have the best sightlines onto point and past. This does, though, it does allow us to check flankers, other DPS that might come here. We have a decent line of sight onto people around here on point, which is likely where your team is going to be fighting for the most part.
Yeah.
until they really get a massive advantage, in which case you push in with them and you take elephant. Because if your team is pushing point, you probably have this map control here. In the instance that say they hold this really hard, they put like 5 people here, you just move around to the other side of the map and you can play from like the backside at this point. So you don't need to get on high ground necessarily. You just play from here.
So it's okay if I start off like right here in this left-hand spot
Uh-huh.
pre-elephant,
Yep.
even if I'm not getting necessarily the most damage, because that from here I'm cutting off flankers, but if they don't
Yep.
push it, then I'm really kind of healing from here.
Yeah. And you can get a decent amount of healing to anyone standing about here or to
Hmm.
the right
Hmm.
over here. Um, it's a bit of a tight window for your team to play in, but these these tanks that don't have like big leaps in mobility, these tanks like Ramatra and Reinhardt and Zarya and Hog, things like that, not like the Winston Diva, they really win by war of attrition, right? So usually you're gonna have enough time to
Mm,
react to your teammate leaving your line of sight. Whereas something like a monkey might be a little more difficult to deal with because at a whim, they could just jump in and
yeah, who
not have
knows?
support, which isn't really your fault. But in
Yeah.
terms of trying to win in ranked, sometimes you make band-aid plays for your team where you fix their mistake for them, even if it's technically less optimal theoretically. Um, I generally don't like to teach like that, especially because a lot of the students I coach are playing like coordinated play, pro play, stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
If there's an issue, I like fixing it at the root generally, but our teammates are unpredictable and not controllable. So,
Yeah, I know we talked about that in the very first episode, and I
yep.
over time I've realized I don't like playing like that either. Like I would rather not cover mistakes. I would rather play the right way. Um, but that's hard to do, and I can't control everything then.
Is decent angle. Okay, super early nade.
Mm,
Because this hog was just about to get low. So look at this.
yeah.
This hog was getting like seriously in kill range as long as his heal is denied. So he walks up. Let's look at how much damage he's taking. He's 1 HP. He doesn't need to use breather here because nade missed, right?
Mm,
Um, but he would be looking to use breather here soon.
yeah. I don't even think that crossed my mind, even from the beginning of the first round. Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of enemy recognition. Hey, that's a hog. That's my priority to shut down breather. You know.
Yeah. Your priority for your anti needs mostly, or your sleeps. Your priority in terms of like your neutral pressure, your weapon fire, should still generally not be the tank, just
Yeah.
because it's more effective to put one shot in a tracer than one shot in an Orisa.
Right.
Um, but but yeah, no, definitely you need to be analyzing that. Here is not the greatest position now at this point. I'd like if we rotated across more to the left. Like I said, you can kind of start this left side and scope out the fight, see how things are going. In our case, we got to push forward really, really quickly. Um, and this is mostly because Hog as a character takes a bit of time usually to get rolling. Like he needs ult charge. He needs the fights to evolve. He needs people to not punish his heal correctly so he gets good cooldown trades, right? Like he's fine with taking damage and baiting cooldowns, and as if he dodges them, he heals. So usually Hog is going to get value on the re-engage, on the counter engage, right? Usually the Hog is not going to straight up win just by pushing into your Zarya. Your Zarya is going to bubble it off. But when Zarya has no bubbles, Hog is way stronger.
Mhm.
So he plays a lot more for the late fight. He has a lot more consistent pressure, though his hook is a pretty major cooldown. Ironically, he actually plays a bit more for the neutral and plays around his breather a lot because it's a relatively low cooldown
Yeah.
and his weapon fire is pretty strong. So I'd like us to be here just so that we can be stopping these guys from getting a crossfire and angle on our Zarya as our Hog's cooldowns are about to come back. He's about to get stronger because at this point we're losing the fight now.
Yeah. I'm just out of the play pretty much.
Mm-hmm. We didn't get enough damage in ahead of time. Like this position is great if we want to shoot the people that come onto point and heal the teammates that are on point, but that is not enough. We need to be hitting them as they're coming to point.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, I'd say mostly that was your guys' struggles there. The breather wasn't punished. The angle wasn't really the most effective because we didn't get enough pressure out on the flankers and the people trying to establish a crossfire, and then our teammates die.
So if I had chosen a completely different route and I didn't go high ground because I'm safe, but now we're all just
Uh-huh.
kind of trickling and it sucks.
You're safe, but way less effective.
Yeah. If I had gone left and then I have like a 2-second window where we were actually winning,
Yep.
then I can probably hit the nade with greater accuracy because I'm close.
Yep, because you're closer.
And then he has no breather and maybe he dies, like.
Right. Also, at that range too, like sleep is more reliable. If you are so safe on Ana, you really never need to use sleep because they're not contesting you at all. You should be throwing out sleeps. And I don't know how many I saw. It's hard to land sleeps from here at this range.
Yeah.
So I'd rather also this is an analogy I can draw between Kiriko. Kiriko is actually in more danger when she's by her team and she has Swift step up. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because she has no one to TP out to if they jump on her team.
Right.
If she's separate from her team, say her team is here and she's here, if Monkey jumps on top of her, she TPs away, and now Monkey has no jump. If it's a different scenario and they're all in the same spot, Kiriko's also with her team, Monkey jumps onto them, Kiriko has no one to TP out to, and Monkey's jump gets extra value. In a kind of similar way, if Ana Sleep is not being utilized at all, maybe you want to put yourself in a little more danger, get a little more risky with it, because there's a balance to like the reward of hitting a sleep, right? In order to hit a sleep on a flanker, you have to be near a flanker, and that can be dangerous, but the reward could be pretty great.
Yeah.
And I think in this instance, I would have just chosen Take That because we're playing super, super low risk, low reward right now. And it's not enough for our team.
Yeah.
Some games that'll work, but I don't really want you to be a result-oriented thinker and say just because it works these games means it's a good play.
Yeah. I mean, I knew when I was doing it because I think they get to 60%. And I've been up there this whole time, like, not being useful. And they kill me anyways. But like,
Yep.
we get to 60%, and I'm like, I haven't done anything this game. Like, that's what it felt like in playing that one.
So we'll take a little bit of a break from the macro and actually talk a little bit about mechanics here, because I think there's definitely some important things we could be focusing on here. Okay, so in general, against Moira, first things first, you don't need to move. You don't need to strafe against her. She's going to hit her shots regardless, right? There's no way you can make Moira not hit her shots. All you're doing by moving is making it harder for you to hit her. So when you're playing against Moira in a 1v1, you're playing Kovacs, right? You're just aiming around, right? Another thing to do is you don't necessarily have to stand still per se, because that can actually make it hard to aim sometimes, aiming purely with her mouse, but definitely mirror her movements. If she's moving right, you're moving right to match her, because if you hit shot for shot, you are killing her faster than she can kill you.
Yeah.
And this is called time to kill, right? So if you have a faster time to kill, generally you want to strafe with someone and match their movements. So they're moving right, you're moving right. Because if you hit all your shots and they hit all their shots, you come out on top.
Yeah.
If they say are a Hanzo, and this is you moving to the right, or this is the Hanzo moving to the right, you might want to move left and make it harder for the Hanzo to hit the shot, because Hanzo has a potential to one-shot you. You'd rather make it hard for both of you to hit your shots and try and skill check him than make it easy for both of you to hit your shots and lose the duel.
Yeah.
Moira is a really simple character in that you're pretty much always on almost every character going to be strafing with her, because she has very consistent slow damage, especially when she doesn't have Moira Orb, which I do think she does use at this point. But
I think she had Fade too when I threw the nade. So it was just like a waste of a nade. I mean, I don't think she used it, but I think she had it.
So definitely there, just more mechanical confidence could have helped us, mirroring her movement pattern. And then we talked about the counter strafing versus strafing with someone. One more layer of complexity to add that isn't necessarily applicable to this situation, but I think is useful to mention, is that against characters with big bullets or slow moving bullets, generally projectiles, things like Farah, things like Junkrat, you're generally going to strafe wider and farther away, and do longer strafes than short little ones. Because what happens when you're a projectile and you shoot at the center of mass of someone just wiggling back and forth?
I hit some of them at
It,
the very least.
right. You're essentially not moving. But against a hit scan with an incredibly precise bullet, if Cassidy shoots X marks the spot right here and it only hits in this tiny center, moving your character left and right and left and right and left and right actually makes it really, really hard to hit. So if you're against a hit scan and they have faster time to kill than you're trying to make close, tiny little strafes against their movement. If you're against a projectile that potentially has a better time kill than you're making long counter strafes, right? If they're moving left, you're moving right, and then you're switching, and you're moving, and you go back and forth, and you make it a little longer. If you have faster time to kill, you're just always strafing with them. So you're always just trying to match their movement. And they're likely going to be either doing little wiggles to counter you if they understand the movement properly, or they'll make longer strafes if you're a projectile, in which case you just need to do your best to match those movements.
Gotcha. Is that longer strafes true for fighting a Hanzo? Because he's projectile, but it's like a smaller
He
one.
is projectile, but it's a small bullet that's relatively accurate and it's pretty fast moving.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a middle ground. You're not going to like wiggle like a freak as much as you would against like a Widow per se, but you will do it to a decent amount of extent. It's definitely not like a Farah. So there's a little bit of like a gradient there in terms of your wiggle to non-wiggle ratio. Okay.
So they all died. I think I'm coming off spawn.
Yep. Just starting top right again.
Yeah.
Oh, having a nade there would be big. He overextended super hard. Okay, the timing of this nade is important. We can put out neutral pressure, but I don't want us nading way too early. Yep. No crossfire. Everyone's shooting from the same direction. Their Kiri didn't even need to Suzu that. That was literally like, if the Kiri wanted, she could literally just eat that and not care.
Yeah.
Because,
just hide and then keep shooting. Like, there's so many angles she could have taken to keep shooting the kunai and not actually get hit by me.
Yep.
This is good to watch back in real time. Like, so far, we've watched maybe like 20 nades of mine, and maybe two or three were valuable.
2 or 3 have been useful. Yep.
It's like, oh my
God. Yep. I'd say you're at about like a 5 to 10% efficiency on your nades right now, which is rough. Very rough.
That's pretty bad.
Okay. So now we have the space. Now our goal is just going to be abusing the shit out of them. If they try and rotate somewhere, you are going to be spamming shots into their backline. You're going to make their supports afraid to peek you. You have to make sure that you get really, really good neutral pressure out here. And then nading once they've gotten to a point of no return. Once they can no longer turn back, once they can no longer hide behind something, they're naded.
Yeah, I wonder where I play here. Do I even play?
So this is an issue. Here ahead of time, let's see the amount of neutral pressure you're getting out. You're rotating at the very worst moment. And you're playing super scared. I think we're scared of the HOG, right? Like, intuitively, I think the reason why you're not poking them a lot ahead of time is because you're really scared of a HOG hook. But you're out of range. It's just a kind of an intuition that's not necessarily serving you very well right now. You need to be here right now. Absolutely need to be. And while you're rotating, you're losing precious time. Their Sombra goes way too early.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got to point like pretty much unscathed.
Yeah, and for free.
Yep. Oh, no nade for HOG. I think we needed Sombra, which is okay. I'm okay with that. Okay, this is a great nade. There you go. All right, add 1 tally to the effective nades.
We're doing it.
Yep. Okay, so we're gonna have Nano here. In terms of Nano, we really need to think about if we plan to counter anything with Nano. So say they want to, I don't know, solo grav a target, right? We'll save Nano for that. But we know they don't have grav because they just switched to it. Say they had like a Reaper ulti and you know they're gonna drop on you playing like on a Brig or something. We're gonna reactively use that Nano. In this instance, there's not a lot we need to respond to per se with Nano. So these are going to be a little more proactive. And really, again, it's the same logic applies to the anti-nade. If they're at a point of no return, if they don't have cover, if we have a crossfire established, if we can, use Nano to trade cooldowns really well, like anti-nading a HOG breather, same logic can be applied with Nano. Maybe nanoing someone that someone that's baiting out cooldowns or something. Here we're looking to use it proactively. And I think really we're just going to be looking to either combo it with like a Reaper once we nano hog or once we anti-hog, or we can use it more to like sustain a teammate, right? So they get hooked by hog, you just nano them immediately, you nade it. Okay, that's right, they're not a hog anymore. So they're on Zarya now. Our anti-nades need to be late again, Zarya. They're kind of running a cleanse comp right now, and it doesn't necessarily mean they're hard countering you, it just changes the play style. Definitely not enough pressure on the right targets, right? Like if we were here on the left, how we could even drop like this. If we want to get really crazy with it, go for something a little riskier. I want us looking at this Kiriko, but we're looking at Zarya right now.
Just frontlining.
Okay, this is why we're on this position now. But the problem is you got to sneak up completely free because we need to be standing here. If you stand down here, you don't have line of sight of like basically anything.
Yeah.
And that means that this position is
he got up there useless. And I couldn't even
he shouldn't have, because he should have been naded, he should have been slept, he should have been shot 3 times while he was running here.
And now he pops Pfizer and I'm dead.
Yep. Cover usage there could have been a little tighter. The moment Soldier shows up, we really should be hugging this. Even if we have to give up the top of this elephant, which we should have had to start, it's okay. We just need to play around something like this or on the right side. But we definitely stayed out in the open way too long. So mechanically, that wasn't played the greatest.
Damn. Yeah, I think...
I think what this point can be boiled down to essentially is that you are too afraid to take risks. Your sleep dart was getting very little usage because your sleep dart was never needed to be used. Like you never really leveraged the power that cooldown held because you figured safer equals better. And you traded so much pressure for safety, and your team wasn't able to do much with it because, I mean, in a pro play environment, you might see an Ana go somewhere like this. They might opt for a play like that, but they have faith in their teammates. And we're not really playing for our teammates.
Yeah.
As Awkward put it, the damage mentality was not correct there. You were not in an angle to do damage.
I think I didn't even think about it. Like, even the riskier angle in front of elephant. Yeah. I don't think I feel like there's a moment that happens when you're playing with your teammates and you get a sense of like, can I trust these people or not? And I think halfway through the first round, there's a sense
you
of
lost
like,
that kind of trust.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. And my brain defaults to like, well, you just got to keep them alive instead of it. When you choose to do damage if you don't trust your teammates, healing them feels like less of an all or nothing play than doing damage.
Right, it feels safer.
Yeah. And so you make the decision like, oh, well, I could do damage, but it's an all or nothing play. We might lose, but it's like, we're going to lose anyways.
Okay, so this is an interesting decision you made. And I don't necessarily hate it, but we need to be very, very careful about how we approach this. We need to make sure we know what they have on their team. We've been able to hear Doom pretty clearly, but we don't hear the rest of their teammates. From this position at this given moment, we should really only know like maybe Doom or Moira or something, right? We might have heard Tracer.
I thought I heard
These,
2 people when I was crouching over there.
yep. These characters, highly mobile, they can punish split teammates. We need their cooldowns out before we decide to peek this. Kind of like before with the anti-nade, the Ana anti-nade we're mentioning on first point. You can go for that. You can go for that flank. I'm okay with that. But you need to do it at the right time. If we peek too early here, I don't care if Doom doesn't turn to us. He should have. And he will once you climb up ranks, and that's a habit you can't have. We peek. He has shift up right now. And then look, he doesn't notice you behind. So, sure, it's a tight window for him to realize that, oh, BAP is behind us, I need to turn, but you should be dead right now. This isn't something you should be able to get away with, even if it works out well for you.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely love having high ground, being able to do damage like this, getting an off angle for your team. Great.
Yeah. I think we lost 3 people before it even materialized. So now I'm like, well.
Right. Which is why it's a bit of a risky play, because your teammates aren't going to realize you're there a lot of the time. So sometimes leaving them to make a play is going to work, and sometimes it won't. And it's kind of up to how aware your teammates are.
So in that situation, the first time I'm walking through, I know there's a Doom there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for him to use his jump, his smash, or both.
Yep. Both, ideally. If he can gap close to you, then it'd be pretty risky.
Yeah.
Especially because they have a Kiriko. If she recognizes that you're solo on an angle, she TPs to Doom. She frags out.
Yeah, I'm just dead.
Yeah. And we start here again. I don't think this is also playing into our effective range all that well. I think there's a better option here. Instead of going all the way around the right, what if we go here? We can heal our teammates from this bridge, and then we go into what we call kitchen and play from here.
I didn't even know that angle existed.
This is going to be better because Baptiste would probably prefer to be just a little closer. I think it's a little unreliable hitting your shots from here.
Yeah.
And because we're so far away from our team, if they decide to just say, fuck it, ignore the Baptiste, and all dive forward, your team is now in a 4v5.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're somewhere closer, like in kitchen, I think you'd definitely be able to rotate to them before they're dead.
That's a good spot. I really have never used that spot in my life.
Yep. Or hell, something like this would be okay. I mean, if your team is able to push out to here, this is a decent spot. Something I talked with, I actually just voted a player on a team I coach on BAP today. Okay. And we were talking about how when we're playing brawl comps, Baptiste wants to start in a position that his team is going to stabilize to. And what I mean by that is, if you're a brawl comp, you're starting together, you're moving together as a unit, and once you get to the fight, or the place you want to fight, you'll split out. You go take separate angles. Because even in brawl, map control is still important, right? You can't win by brute forcing your way. You're just rotating together because you have increased safety during that time, and you're faster when you're rotating with each other in this arc. The moment you reach that endpoint, you split out. And where does the Baptiste go? The Baptiste goes to the point where the team is going to stabilize. Stabilizing means, hey, we traded some cooldowns, maybe we got a pick, but now we're on our down cycle. Now we're on our down tempo. We're no longer have these cooldowns. We don't have Ram Punch, we don't have Lucio Speed, we don't have Maywall. We're vulnerable to counterattack at this point. So we need to find a good place to just bunker up and hide and wait for our cooldowns to come back. And that's the stabilization point. And that's where Baptiste comes in. Baptiste is going to start at the stabilization point so that his team falls back to him and he doesn't have to go chasing his team because Baptiste isn't fast. He doesn't have the greatest mobility. And generally Baptiste isn't going to want to be taking those risks to start. Like starting the fight on the most offy of off angles. In this instance, I think a position like this absolutely satisfies these conditions. Right here is your team's stabilization point, if we think about it. Whether they intentionally think about it or not, this is where they are going to congregate when they start getting low and when they need healing, right? Being from here allows us to be at that stabilization point and simultaneously be on that off angle.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say like it's like an anchor kind of?
Yeah, yeah,
Like
a bit.
take up
Uh,
anchoring positions in general or most of the
well,
time?
it depends at the start of the fight. So when the fight starts to devolve, when people are taken out of the fight, they're killed, cooldowns are out, you can decide to rotate away from your team if you decide there's enough of a window. Say
Mhm.
Doom uses all of his cooldowns, he has to stabilize behind a wall. When they're trying to stabilize, say we start winning this and they back up, Doom punches out. You want to ideally be in a place to cut him off there. Be like, hold up, you can't stabilize there. I have a crossfire. Keep backing up, right?
Mhm.
Um, but ideally, you're doing both. Ideally, you're starting the fight as the anchor of your team. You're starting the fight on that stabilization point so that when your team needs you, you're there. And then you're in a position where you can rotate to the off angle and really close out
Yeah.
the fight, go for the kill shot. This is something called dynamic positioning, and it's where maybe one position on its own isn't the most valuable, but the way it can segue into others gives it more value than what's technically at face value, right?
Yeah. I think we
Um,
got a lot of good stuff from that on Perry, so I think
yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
hinting at that without actually saying that.
absolutely. So we do well here, right? We make a play, but it wasn't necessarily the most well informed play, um, and I don't I don't think it's always going to fly, especially the higher you go up.
Yeah.
So cool, good for you. You got away with something, but this isn't something I congratulate yourself for. Not to
Yeah.
be harsh or anything.
No, I think that's fair. It worked this one time,
Yeah.
but it's not a principle.
Okay. Where's your team's stabilization point?
Mm,
And this could be a little tricky, but from your perspective here, where would everyone on your team naturally congregate to that has cover and is not caught in a crossfire between the team?
this
So it's
corner.
it's definitely not over here, right? It's probably like back here.
Yeah, I'm saying that
So
corner
you
right
want to
there.
be in a position close enough to the stabilization point that you will be there when your team needs you, and simultaneously not be taking pressure too early. So I think a position like this could be good. You could rotate to this because you have cover here, peek in and out, shoot what
Mhm.
Arista's shooting. She needs to back up. Okay, that's fine. I walk 2 meters and I can heal them from at their stabilization point.
How do you feel about turning your back in that situation but keeping the high ground? Or is it better to back up further?
What do you mean turning your back?
So, like, let's say the Orisa backs up, goes under the
Uh-huh.
bridge, and goes to that
Yep.
corner where the stabilization is. I'm still in high ground. And so to heal her, I'm looking backwards at the
Uh-huh.
corner to heal her, but my back's maybe to pressure that's
Well,
coming. Or is it better
n-
to.
not necessarily because you have cover here.
Mhm.
So no one that is currently in the fight can threaten you. If Doomfist was in the fight and had cooldowns up, maybe.
Mhm.
But as long as you have your BAP shift, as long as you have lamps, stuff like that, that's usually a play I'd still go for. If BAP is really the only one that can still contest you on high ground, say he's like your team stabilizing in this corner right over here, and you're on top of the bridge healing, no one on their team can see you, so BAP's like, okay, I gotta go push this BAP off, or this Doom says I need to push the BAP off. He shifts over, he tries to punch you, that's fine. He's not gonna 100 to 0 you. You have shift, you have lamp. And it's important that you have this position to begin with so you can get pressure in on the enemies before the fight really breaks out into like
Yeah.
melee range.
Yeah, that's fair.
The thing about Doom is it's really hard, unlike Hog, to truly stay out of his effective threat range. His cooldowns are relatively low, and they have incredibly high range. Like Doom can basically get anywhere from anywhere at any time. The thing is, Doom on his own isn't really the greatest threat. Like really good Doom players, obviously they make him look really good, and they make him look super threatening. But on his own, a Doom solo getting on top of you is usually not the biggest deal if their team doesn't have crossfire or follow up. And because of that, I wouldn't be as scared of a Doom or being inside Doom's effective range as I would being a Hog's
That's
effective
so
range.
interesting because none of the other players, except for maybe Kiriko, can get to me on that
Mm-hmm.
height. Um, but I don't spend or if any, very little brain power thinking about like the other team's comps. Like when I have these
Right,
coaching
right.
sessions and I play, I'm thinking of like, am I in the right spot in general, or it seems like there's much more situational stuff that is factoring into whether I take a spot or not based
Yeah.
on their comp.
You can definitely take your game to the next level just by, putting that analysis to work.
Hmm.
Um, you'll get decently far just by adhering to like really basics like keeping cover and weaving in damage and stuff like that. But when you get more context as to where and why and when, that's when it really starts to come together. And that's what I think we're in the process of learning right now. I don't think your aim is all that bad. I don't think your like positioning by default's all that bad. I don't think your cover usage is all that bad. But there are a lot of opportunities you're missing that are being handed to you, plays that they're throwing to you like a softball that you're just not catching, right?
Mm,
Um, and that'll be really the difference between a player that understands and has watched guides and stuff like that, and a player that really, really like has taken it to heart, has implemented their gameplay. Someone that like fully has it down on lock.
yeah.
And we couldn't support her from here because we weren't in a position to help her from her stabilization point. She couldn't get back to the point where she's not taking pressure anymore because we weren't able to support her along the way.
Yeah.
And of course, she messed up on her own. She used too many cooldowns at once, whatever. But in terms of what we could have done there,
Hmm.
definitely this position would be better.
And now I'm
Yeah, Tracer just cannot contest you here.
just
Yeah, and
wasting
so
time. Like I'm
I
staggering
think
myself.
definitely the moment Doom punches in, he no longer has the means to CC you. Jump down off high ground, lamp yourself here, keep walking.
Yeah.
Um, lamp is buying you time. It's not really saving you. With
Hmm.
time, you can definitely get to a safe stabilization point right here. This isn't a stabilization point. The throwing lamp here isn't all that useful just because you have to stay inside of lamp to get use of it, and
Hmm.
staying inside of here is a death sentence. So throw your lamp forward, run into your lamp because Doom has no means to push you out of the lamp or interrupt you. It's your best chance at getting out.
Yeah, this game was
Definitely rough. Your teammates aren't the best.
well, I think that's a given based on the rank
Yeah.
I'm in, but it's more what am I doing knowing that, I should try to I'm trying to get out of here,
Yeah.
and I should be making the plays that, like you said, take advantage of all the other silver players, all the mistakes they're making to, kind of capitalize on those.
Yep. Now I'm more okay with you going on this flank and this plane now. And why is that? Do you
Uh,
have any ideas?
well, I think Kiriko's dead. We have two dead.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know where Doom is, but I don't think he's like my is pushing the gate. Um, so I feel like with two dead, three people are gonna want to contest main, and it feels like I have
Yep.
more range, like more.
Yep. The fight's devolving. They didn't just give it up. They lost their crossfire. They no longer have map control and angles. So I'm
Mhm.
okay with you taking it because taking an off angle here at this moment isn't going to get your Orisa killed because the amount of pressure you can put onto their one and only support is going to force Doomfist to back up without having to shoot Doomfist and heal Orisa. Um, so it's more a direct form of pressure
Mhm.
than if you were to heal and shoot Doom from here, just because they don't have the means to contest you anymore. If they put multiple people here, they lose their angles on this side of the map, and then
Mhm.
Orisa walks by. If they keep everyone there, you get a crossfire, you get pecs, you force people out of the fight,
Yeah, I
and that's
hope I.
only because they're down people. Because Tracer and Kirito should be contesting this. You shouldn't be allowed to walk here in normal circumstances, but they're gone now. So
Mhm.
now this is a great play. Now I like this. So Orisa fails to peel the soldier, but that's okay. There's not a lot we can do about that. I don't like her positioning as much here. Wish we went high ground, especially if we have an Alari following us. Getting a crossfire here would be useful because Moira lines of sight you like this, and then she gets caught by Baptiste.
And I die.
Yep. I think we got a pretty brief window there to make something happen, and we didn't make it happen.
Tragic.
Yep. I doubt you're going to be able to get a really good use of window, but we can go over how windows really should be used.
Yeah.
I see a lot of players make the mistake of opening up the fight with window at all ranks. And this is not good because think about the on-and-aid situation. What conditions do we need satisfied for an on-and-aid to be truly useful? To not just buy us time.
Having them not being able to retreat, I think having them have taken a little bit of damage first, so it actually ends up being a kill. Like you said, it's like a kill shot ability.
Yep.
Preferably grouped.
Yep. Getting value denying other cooldowns with it. Like Hog Breather. Also using it when we have a crossfire so that even if they do have a little bit of cover, we can still nade them. Because at a certain point, you're almost never going to find people like really standing truly like out in the middle of nowhere. People are always going to play kind of by cover. And the counter to cover is a crossfire. So the more and more the teammates you play against or the enemies you play against get better at utilizing cover, the more crossfire is going to be necessary.
So yeah, as I go higher up, because I don't know, maybe in a diamond lobby or a master's lobby, people are going to be playing cover much better,
much more frequently
than who I'm. So me holding on my nade until they make a mistake in the open probably isn't gonna happen.
Always the best. Your timing might change a little bit. It might not be I'm waiting for them to walk. It might be I'm waiting for my tracer to be set up on an off angle, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It might be a little different in that regard, but the underlying logic is still the same. By the time tracer gets an off angle, gets a crossfire, they're already at a point of no return. They're effectively out in the open for us because they have nowhere to hide. They have nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
The philosophy is still the same, but it's just a bit of a different application.
That itself is enough like of a light switch for me when it comes to nade usage even.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, I notice that I'm like, sometimes I am trying to intentionally focus on like, all right, use your nades when they can't run away from it. But sometimes, you know, that just doesn't happen. I end up holding it forever. And that kind of flies counter to like somewhat what Awkward says is like, use your cooldowns, but I'm not using them because maybe I'm not getting an opportunity, but I'm not thinking of the fact that my teammates can capitalize if they have an off.
The opportunity is sometimes a little more complex than just them walking into just what we need satisfied.
Yeah.
Or what conditions we need satisfied for a nade. I was going to say too, with the back window, we don't open up with it for the reasons that we're not using an on a nade to open. Usually you're using your window to stop a counter push. Say your team starts to stabilize, they get to a stabilization point, and they're like, okay, we got to get a crossfire. That's when you window yourself and you go ham on whoever's getting on top of the people that are trying to stabilize, or you go ham on the person trying to get a flank or an off angle. Usually that's just how you're going to be using window. It's generally going to be a pretty reactive ability because proactive uses of window are really easy to counter, to kite. It's the ability has limited range. Like Curie ulti, you can run people down, so there's way less people can do to like hide behind cover to counter a Curie ult. They have to back up way farther, and you buy way more time just raw dogging a Curie ulti into a fight than a BAP window. Now, it's maybe not the most effective use of Curie ult to just open with it all the time, but it's more effective than window. Window is one of those abilities that's like almost literally useless if you use it super early. So though we didn't get to use one there, I would say definitely the instances in which you're using it is you start the fight, you trade cooldowns, maybe you get space, maybe you don't. If they try and go in for the kill shot, you say nope, fuck you, you press Q, you window. If they make a mistake and jump in too soon, you beam them. If
Yeah.
not, it allows your team to stabilize and you go back.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Or sometimes you can use it as like a kill shot move. If their team is stabilizing and you're like, okay, now's my time to get an off angle to cut their stabilization short, you can solo window yourself or maybe like a soldier, you know, another teammate in an off angle and finish them off.
Yeah.
So those are the uses of window. I wouldn't recommend using it any other way. I can't imagine a scenario that it's really useful to open with window.
Yeah, I don't even thinking experientially, I don't think I get a lot of value when I do that. And I've done
Yeah,
it.
like anecdotally, it's probably there's not a lot of stories of people getting success
Yeah.
from that, but the logic is the same as to the on innate. The reason why we don't open up with window is exactly the same, and really for most cooldowns. So yeah, that was mostly everything covered. Do you have any other questions?
No, I
concerns?
mean, I think you did you picked apart in a good way, and this is something I value, but you picked apart a lot of the big mistakes. And I think playing passive here, using my cooldowns to get the ticky tickies feelings.
Yeah, the ticky tickies.
Yeah, I think not punishing what they're doing, and some other coaches have said that as well. So it's resonating of like, this is good advice. Do this.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
you're getting that. You're getting that second opinion, confirming it.
Yeah, I think it's so important for me. It looks like there were some positioning things definitely in this particular game where it's like you know, getting value from positioning, but I really do feel like, man, I gotta really be intentional if I'm playing a quick play game of like, when am I using my nades? Don't press the button until I've thought about it, and I think initially it'll
Yep.
be slow. But it'll build better habits. I think I have some definitely newbie habits.
A habit building technique I recommend is actually binding your anti-nade or any other important cooldown that you're trying to train yourself to use more effectively to a different key. Why? Because you have to think actively like, oh, I want to use anti-nade here. It's not a split-second decision where the muscle memory kicks in, you get the ticky-tickies, right? You have to really, you stop and think for a second. Do I really want to throw anti-nade here? It's kind of like a, you know, like when you try and delete something, there's a pop-up window that says, do you want to delete this?
Yeah.
That's kind of the mental trigger that having a different keybind is, because you're going to press it once instinctively. You're going to press your anti-nade, like, wait, why didn't it throw? Oh yeah, should I really use it here? Okay, no. Or okay, yes.
Yeah.
It, you know, it might mess up your timing, but I would rather you mess up intentionally than, you know,
Yeah.
mess up unintentionally. This is something I did with another student too. We were working on comms, and they had a macro that I recommended they used that in Discord to their team automatically mutes and unmutes them in 5-second intervals. They have to like filter the information and not just, you know, be a flood of constant useless data. They had to
Yeah.
really pick and choose what they wanted. And it sucked for the team. You know what? It fucking sucked. It was awful. They lost. But you know what? The comms got better. The
Yeah.
comms did get better. So sometimes you gotta lose a little or a lot to win a little.
That might be the title of the episode.
Yeah.
Lose a little to win a little. I like it. Well, this is really, really valuable. Thank you so much, Maeve. I know we went over. I appreciate you doing that. And as always, you bring such good insight and analysis to kind of what is pretty common gameplay, I would say. Like, I don't even know if this is per se reflective of just silver gameplay, which is where the rank of this account is, or gold gameplay, but I think a lot of the player base would struggle with a lot of these same issues.
Absolutely.
At least that's what I tell myself to feel better about it. So
from any rank, really. The
Yeah.
application just gets a little more consistent up from
Yep.
every rank.
But yeah, thanks again, and appreciate you having you on.
Yep. Thank you so much.
And we will see you in the next one.
See ya.